Hi, welcome to my automotive show, The Canadian Enthusiast. Today is the second episode of my season 3. Now, today on the show, I will not go on motor news entirely because I want to talk about two topics that's been entangling people. I mean, it took me for a while because I run another channel which is called the Counter Political Times. So please watch that show as well. And let's get to the business now. Today on the show, we're going to talk about two vehicles I think that makes substantial sense. One vehicle about its legacy. Some people say its legacy is a bit tainted or declined. Another vehicle that's good as they say, but is it good? We will talk about that. So let's start off the show. I'm talking about a very important thing, a vehicle that revolutionized the entire world of luxury vehicles significantly. The Lexus LS. Now the Lexus LS is quite an interesting vehicle. Because the bitter reality is that the Lexus LS is the one that changed the landscape. This is my best top 5 full-size luxury cars in 1988. Fight me in the comments if I'm wrong. This is my top 5. Mercedes S-Class, BMW 7 Series, Audi V8, Jaguar XJ, and Maserati Quattroporte. Great, right? Good. But there's something in that top 5 you might all find a coincidence. It's all European, or either German, or Italian, or British. So that's a bit of a problem. You see, Mercedes was bulletproof and reliable. BMW, bulletproof and reliable. Audi, reliable. Bulletproof? No. Jaguar, not so reliable. Maserati? No, it overheats faster than a kettle of water. So it doesn't make sense. So if you're buying a full-size luxury car, you really didn't have a choice between the top 5 because the Japanese weren't building that equivalent stuff and selling them in Europe. But Lexus changed the game. In 1989, the Lexus LS400 was introduced as a way. Ever since then, the crown jewel top 5 full-size luxury cars are Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Jaguar, and Lexus. That top 5 has barely changed because Maserati has not been competitive ever since. Maserati have always gone for style over substance. It often might look pretty, but it never actually does the job right. I mean, the current Quattroporte is very elegant looking, but you sit on the interior once, you might say, oh no, it's not a top 5 full-size luxury car. The current Lexus LS has been disliked by some for not having a V8 engine. Look, general viewers, Lexus tried to sell you V8s, popularized them for years. Lexus, if they have to stand out in that top 5, there are two problems. It doesn't have a German badge or a British badge, meaning if it have to stay in that top 5, it will have to do something creative to survive. And that's the bitter reality of the Lexus LS. And the twin-turbo V6 with 415 plus horsepower sounds more adequate for me. What do you need more? LS is built for comfort and chauffeur-driven purposes, not unlike the 7 Series. Because the bitter reality is, the 7 Series was never the ultimate driving machine except for the ones in the late 90s. It clearly wasn't a driving machine and people misconcept their idea. And I bet today, and every single time I disagree with people like Matt Watson when it comes to saying the Audi A8 is nice and great. I'm sorry, Matt. The Audi A8 is not very good at all compared to Mercedes or a BMW or a Jaguar. It's not. It's really not. Sorry, it doesn't to this day. And unfortunately, the Lexus brand is given a shrub shit about it. However, Lexus is selling in big numbers. The LS sales numbers are still very impressive in a time when SUVs and pickups dominating sales in these times. I mean, it's not really surprising if you think about it either way. But the reality is this. There is a punchline for everything we think about Lexus LS. And very soon there will be a V8. But as far as the LS is concerned, I think its legacy is fine. And if you deeply think about it, it's doing better than ever. It's more bold than the Germans. I think it has a bolder design than the Germans. It's more risk-taking. In the past, Lexus was a safe choice in the top 5. It looked right. It had a wonderful interior. It chauffeured nicely. And it made sense. It truly did made sense. Of course, there's no doubt about it. But now in 2020, it has made all the same qualities, but with a different sense of innuendo about it. A different sense of boldness that got into. So let me say that it's bolder, it's better, and the LS legacy should go on. I disagree with people like Matt Watson that it's bold. the grill. It's not controversial. If you can love a grill from BMW, for feet F's sake, just love the goddamn grill from Lexus. Because you provoked them for make that grill in the first place. Now, of course, as we talked on the Lexus LS, remember, LS in general, I'm going to end the S part right now. Instead, I'm going to talk about the Dodge Ram 1500 TRX. Something that we are eagerly waiting for years to talk about. We've been waiting for 4 years to get one of these things, and finally, we are getting it. Look, the old SRT10 Viva Viper powered Ram 1500s were great, legendary, and brilliant. They were fast, they were monstrous, they were freaking sick and cool. They were Dodge, baby. And people like like Donut Media, they love their Dodges for a reason. They love those for a reason. Myself, I'm a big FCA fanatic. Actually, it's got a weird name. I'm not going to call it the Sandtrick. I'm never going to call their name because it's bloody weird. But there's one thing that always bites me in the back. Is it too expensive? Because I thought pickups are meant to be focused on luxury and practicality, not on performance. It is another question. People wanted them to build a street racer, not a Baja Rally, the desert racer. But the reality is this. The market for a street racing luxury pickup is long gone. People no longer anticipate that. They believe street means luxury and comfort. So it's obvious that it's not required at all. So yeah, it's not needed. So Baja rallying like the Ford Raptor might be the most sense the TRX makes. And the engine, it's powered by a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 with 702 plus horsepower. I'm going to say it makes more power than they say. As always, I stand by the comment I say, because manufacturers say a certain power, but it makes way more than that. I can tell you that pretty clearly. But of course, it's not only that, it's a Ram, so you get class-leading interior in the class. The only thing that surprises me is why people keep buying the Ford F-150 when the Ram offers a better interior, and by far, I guess sales will change someday, I presume that's the case. But think about the TRXs, it's its styling. I love its bulldog styling. It looks tough and rugged. On the inside, it looks luxurious and opulent, and I got no doubt about that. And the bitter reality is, I would make a bold statement. Is there need to buy a BMW 5 Series or even an E-Class? Buy a Ram. That's how I just said. I tell anyone who buys these things, I just say buy a Ram. Simple as that. Because there's no point buying an E-Class, because the same equal comfort in a freaking Ram anyway. It will cost more, but you get the size of S-Class and the comfort of an E-Class. But of course, the biggest thing to understand, its fuel economy will not be so impressive, but I think this is a crazy time we live in. We got low, cheap fuel prices, and I guess we should enjoy while we can get these engines, because I'm not so sure we can get these engines in the future. These big supercharged Hemis, they are dying dinosaurs. And the sad part is, they are dying dinosaurs. And I certainly think we have to buy them when we can, and I think they are collector's dream. If there are any collectors out there, please buy these things and preserve these TRXs, because there will be a time when people say, yes, I love this TRX, but I never bought one. Because people grab these when you can, because these things will cost tons of money in the classic market. It won't take long to become classics at all. Trust me, it simply wouldn't. Of course, you also must understand that the TRX has a very interesting reputation around it. For me, I like it. Some people argue it needs a slightly lesser models, as not only TRX should be a model, it should be a model in lineup. It should be offering lesser engine choices. But I would say don't do that, FCA. If you do that, you ruin the entire prestige of the TRX. And yes, and of course, apparently it's the most expensive light duty full-size pickup. Apparently the most expensive. I would say just buy it. It's not a problem. Everything costs money these days. So I would just say spend the money. It's not a problem at all for me. I would say buy it, you enjoy it, and it's posher than an E-Class in some way. Predominant majority of ways. And they have much more road presence as well. Today's because so as a result. So thank you for joining me on the show. Before in the show, please put a like on my channel, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. And thank you very much for joining me, and join me on the future episodes.